good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you're listening around the world. This is Sedona Talk Radio.
Welcome to From the Inside Out for December 27th, 2009. I'm your host, Blair Carl, with special thanks to Dr. Chet Snow for allowing this upcoming 12-minute highlights from Dr. Stephen Greer's 2-hour keynote address given in November at the Secrets, Energy, and Harmonics Revolution Conference in Tempe, Arizona. Please visit chetsnow.com for a complete listing of DVDs from Dr. Greer and many other significant speakers at this event.
Dr. Greer is a medical doctor. He is from Virginia. Most recent book is Hidden Truth, Forbidden Knowledge. And he's going to talk on that not only tonight, but also in a special post-conference workshop, which will be held in this room tomorrow evening. He is also the founder and head of the Disclosure Project, which has been working tirelessly within the hallowed halls of Washington and around the country, and in fact the world, to bring the truth of extraterrestrial contact with this planet, with our species, with us as human beings, to the public's knowledge in an official way. And he is also, in more recent times, the start of the Orion Project, which is very near and dear to me and to many of the people who've spoken today, about new forms of energy, renewable energy, alternative energy, that will help to release us from the bondage of fossil fuel, which not only, of course, has skewed the politics of this whole planet, but is driving us ecologically down a road for which there frankly is no tomorrow, because we're only depending on the past. So with all of that in mind, I want you to give a warm welcome to Dr. Stephen Greer.
Thank you very much. Chase Manhattan Bank, the big military-industrial financial petrodollar complex, has been keeping this stuff secret because guess what? If you say these UFOs are real and people ask how are they getting from star system A to here, and that will be then disclosed, it's the end of oil, the end of gas, the end of coal, the end of nuclear power, the end of centralized utilities, the end of transmission lines, the end of the internal combustion engine, the end of jet engines, and the end of rocketry. All of it gone within a decade. But it's ramping up because we're in the final countdown. If we don't get this stuff fully disclosed, it's going to be done for us. But it's better if we do it ourselves so that we don't have people running in the streets like chickens with their heads cut off. Oh, the aliens are invading. Please. If they were hostile, it'd be point, set, match. Over. Now, there are PLFs, these program life forms that the classified programs make that are called, the grays and reptiles. And I know physicists who've been building those for decades, that they put on the anti-gravity devices that look like UFOs. People do, all those abductions. That's what those are. I know all the guys have been doing that for years. It's a long story. People have had contact, like I have, and they have gone on board, and they've had missing time, but they're also this copycat thing of abduction simulations that's being run by a classified part of Majestic. I mean, this has been out since for 20 years, but the UFO community covers it up. Now, 1993, 94, 95, 15, 16 years ago, I realized that this really is true, that there is a secret government, a satellite entity government, that basically does not tell the president or the CIA director, unless he came up through that chain of command, or the top brass at the Pentagon, or most members of Congress, unless they're a member of the committee, the Majestic Committee. And that's just the way it is. And they are an entity and a governing entity unto itself. It is the largest criminal enterprise in the world. Trillions of dollars of our taxpayer money have gone into it. Trillions, not billions, trillions over the years. Rumsfeld himself said there are $2 or $3 trillion missing out of the Department of Defense. He said that in 9/11, if you remember, beforehand. So the point is, because I have a home in D.C. and a home out near in the Blue Ridge Mountains in Virginia, near Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's home. And when I'm in D.C., I meet with these people all the time. House Intelligence Committee, Senate Intelligence Committee, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, what have you. All these folks, and almost all of them don't know anything about this. You guys know more. What I found through this, the School of Hard Knocks, is that it would devolve on us. The President of the United States, after we did these briefings, sent a friend of his to my home and said, look, they're very supportive of what you're suggesting, but we're convinced that if he does this, he'll end up like Jack Kennedy. Anniversary is tomorrow, I believe, for his assassination. And he isn't going to do it. And I said, he says this in front of my children. I said, oh, come on. I thought it was a joke, and it wasn't. They were terrified. And in fact, when Rockefeller was going through the best available evidence briefing materials that are on our 2-hour DVD back there, and Hillary Clinton stood up and said, stop. We don't want to hear anything more about this. It's too dangerous. So much for that president. Then we had Cheney's a member of Majestic, and W wasn't curious. During the campaign, someone asked, what about these things about UFO? And W said, oh, I don't know, but Dick would know about that kind of thing. That's actually on tape. So anyway, that was that 8 years. But in the intervening years, we decided to work with members of Congress. And I said, look, some of these images you saw earlier were some of the things we put together for members of Congress. And we had a meeting in '97 where basically we gathered together a whole lot of congressional offices and staffers and members of Congress and chairmen of committees and people from the executive wing and the vice president's office. And that was Al Gore. Yes, here's an inconvenient truth. We presented to his science advisor and his team all the solutions for energy, and he walked away. Yeah, you go figure. Okay. I don't care about Nobel Prizes, and I really don't care about documentaries. I mean, the truth is, he was handed this on a silver platter and walked away because he was afraid also of taking on and going through the buzzsaw Majestic, who are not afraid to assassinate people. By the time I got through all that, and members of Congress were very interested, and then they got approached. Some suit would come in and say, don't hold a hearing on this. So in 2001, May 9th, we did the Disclosure Project event, National Press Club. First hour of it was jammed electronically, so it could not get out of the National Press Club building. Absolute fact. President of the company said so, who was hosting it. Eventually it was seen, though, by 1 billion people around the world, at least 1 billion people. Voice of America carried it to 300 million people by radio and satellite all over. Voice of America. So this thing started getting legs. Members of Congress were getting tens of thousands of faxes and emails from you guys saying, we want open hearings on this. We want to end the secrecy, and we want the truth. Damn it. And then 9/11 happened a few months later. A diversion, tragic, and it was effective. Temporarily. The point is this. The system is very much gamed to keep things the way they are, because the status quo means that the 200 or 300 corporations and individuals that have half of the net worth of the world want to keep it that way. That's what it's really about. And it's massive amounts of, not money per se, but the geopolitical power that goes with the macroeconomic paradigm that has enslaved most of the world. It is slavery. And this is what we're really struggling against, is to create a new civilization that is free, truly free. We determined that these projects were illegal. And once you determine that the Majestic operations are illegal and unconstitutional, I turn to these military guys and people at the NSA and CIA and say, look, if you have access to a document, even if it is top secret, if it's dealing with this issue, give it to me and I'll put it out there. Why? Because they cannot cite the National Security Act to keep something secret if they themselves are a rogue entity breaking all the laws of the country, lying to the President and Congress. This is basic law. We determined this in the 90s. And you know what? No one has ever challenged that legal theory. So truth is a complete defense, always. And as Brian O'Leary says, the truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. Few men are willing to brave the disapproval of their fellows, the censure of their colleagues, the wrath of their society. Moral courage is a rarer commodity than bravery in battle or great intelligence. Yet it is the one essential, vital quality for those who seek to change a world which yields most painfully to change. Robert F. Kennedy, 1966. So it is with this that I put on the cover of the briefing for the President. Now this has been hand-delivered to Bob Gates, Secretary of Defense, the new CIA Director, Leon Panetta, the Chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, the President of the United States, the Head of Homeland Security, your Governor, Napolitano, and a few other folks in D.C. The network we have built is amazing. Over 19 years, blood, sweat, and tears, and 3 people on my team murdered, and I was almost murdered in 1997. It's all in the book. Go read it if you want to. The point is this. This President has the chance to do something. When you read this thing and you look at what the action points are, one of them was that the President liberate, release a top-secret scientist who a year ago this week had met with the board of directors of the OrionProject.org that I founded a year and a half ago. And this man has done the WSFM Weird Science Frickin' Magic work in classified projects for every three-letter agency for his entire adult lifetime. His 5 intelligence handlers, so called shepherds, released him to us a year ago. And he was going to build for us an energy generation system that would be able to be eventually developed to take every car and home and anything that uses power in the world off the grid and free energy. Absolutely. This guy can do it. This is the pearl of great price. You don't throw this one back. I've been told by members very high up, very well connected to the administration and to Congress, that there's a head of steam building on this because of the pressures coming from other countries. 2/3 of Majestic wants to move. The others are very violently oriented and don't. But it's a very dynamic thing, and they need to hear from you. So tonight, before you go to bed, get online, go to disclosureproject.org, look at that document and follow the links and write the president and say, please take the executive actions in the overview that have been recommended by the Disclosure Project in CSETI. They need to hear from you, and do that also for your 2 senators and your member of Congress, whoever that is. And if you're from another country, write your president and Obama. So that's what's happening right now. The release of this top secret guy, there's a huge momentum building for disclosure. We're in the final countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tilt. Our whole civilization is hanging in the balance, and I mean really it is, because there isn't time to have another 50 years of these silly, boyish games, spy versus spy nonsense, and the suppression and murder of these sort of scientists who have just been liberated to us. You guys have got to stop looking at Jay Leno and eating Cheetos and get busy. The other thing you can do is you can visualize this happening. Rupert Sheldrake in the morphogenic fields and the concepts of consciousness and the non-locality of mind knows that when a lot of people begin to either do or think or intend something, it has an effect that's non-local. In other words, isn't just direct one person-to-person communication, it shifts the whole society. And that's how change really starts. It happens within the field of awareness and consciousness, thought, intent, meditation, and prayer, but it's got to be followed also by action, deeds. We got to do all that. So, and you ain't seen nothing yet. This is fun. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Contact transformation. We're right at the cusp, my friends.